Alright, hey everyone, I'm working on building some floating shelves. So the first thing I'm going to do is build a bracket that attaches to the wall. I've got a piece of pine. I ripped this to 1 and about 1/8 of an inch. And then I ripped 4 brackets, which I'm going to use as joists. These are what provide the support for the floating shelf, and this is what attaches into the wall.
I used my Kreg pocket hole jig to drill pocket holes to attach these supports. If you don't have a pocket hole jig, you could always just drill and screw from the back. That would also work. Pocket holes are just stronger. You're going to want to use wood glue as well. Attach all of these, let them dry. This is what it looks like once it's finished. The supports I cut at 6 3/8 of an inch, and the back piece I cut at 31 inches, which is the length I want my shelf. Next, I've got the wood that I'm going to use to make the shelf. This is 1x10 pine. I'm going to rip it to 9 1/4 inch, and when ripping it, I'm going to rip a 45 on the outer edge. Do this to all the pieces.
This is what the shelf is eventually going to look like, just like so. And then I'll cut a 45 for here and for these outer sides. I still have to cut the 45 on the side. If you don't have all these fancy tools or the confidence to operate and cut 45s, you don't need to do a 45. You could just join straight up, go right 90 into the side, and that would be sufficient to make a shelf as well. Doing it this way with the 45s, it just hides the end grain that you'll see if you just butt it up. Here's what we've done. We cut the 45 on the face. Again, if you just want to butt this up and make simple shelves, you don't need to do that. But I'm going to miter the sides.
I've got my saw set up, and I'm cutting a 45-degree miter. Make sure you do this on both sides and cut it to your finished dimension. Once this is done, you should have a miter on all 3 sides. Now to assemble the shelf, I've got these spacers cut. This is what spaces out the shelf so the bracket can slide in and out. The spacers are a 1/16 inch thicker than the actual bracket. You want to pick a layout for the spacers so that they won't interfere with your bracket. I'm using CA glue, which is instant glue, and wood glue. The CA glue is just initially binding it to the wood so that I can get it in the proper position. I'm lining this up with my outside miter. Now that I have the spacers glued on, I can flip this over and line up my other piece. I'm using wood glue again. It's critical to make sure that you line these up. You want to measure and mark it out beforehand. I'm clamping this down so that it holds it in place and putting some brad nails in. Alright, the final step on this floating shelf is to attach the sides and the front piece. I've mitered these on 45s. Again, if you don't want to miter anything, it is a lot easier to butt everything up. I'm using wood glue and brad nails to attach these. Let this dry, and then you'll have a completed floating shelf.